Okay. Hey, everybody. This is a short video on some calculator basics, entering data into a couple lists on the calculator and calculating summary statistics. And I will show how to make some box plots. If I was going to have to make a graph on my calculator, I would make a box plot. However, I would say if you were forced to make a graph, I would most likely go for a dot plot or a stem plot. But we'll just look at it kind of brief overview. So I will start sharing my screen. And on the left-hand side, I actually have data in a stem plot that comes from the practice, the AP review practice #1. And I just put it there so it'll kind of do a two-in-one thing. We will look at inputting data, and we'll also look at sort of review of stem plots in case you don't know. So on the calculator, of course, turn it on is your first step. And you start out at a home screen. To get to the stats options, there is a stat button that's right next to the left of the arrow keys, and hit stat. It will bring up a menu, and the first thing on the menu says edit, and that's where we're going to go first. Those sorting options will sort your list if you ever need to. Option 4 would clear your list, but let's go ahead and just hit enter. In my calculator, my lists are already clear. If I started with some things in my list, like I just put a couple things in there, and if it had a whole lot of lists and I didn't want to clear it, I can put my cursor all the way up until I have highlighted L1. So that's an important thing, that is all the way up and highlighted. I'm going to hit the clear button, and notice nothing happens until I hit enter, and then it's clear. Now I'm ready to start entering data. I'm going to enter, I will enter the urban data first. It doesn't really matter which one, as long as you remember which is which. So this is for caloric intake for 9th graders. My lowest number on my graph here, this is in the tens place, 6 is in the ones, so this is 26. So 26 is my first data value. I enter it, I hit enter, and then I continue. 26. 27, there are 28s and 28s. And 29s, 30, 31, 33. And I could point out while I'm doing this that this has split stems, so that like in this here, in my first 3, this is between like 31 and 34, or 30 and 34, and then I do the 35 through 39 in the next one, just as a note of what split stems are in case you forgot. And there I am, I have 20, so I have 19 in my first here, and that there I go all the way to 42. For my second list, I'll start out, the lowest is 32. Okay, and then I have 19 here. Oops, I forgot one, 49 and 51. And I think it looks like I made a typo in my first list. I'm gonna go check it real quick. Data entry is always a problem, data entry error. So I wanna just check my values, and I think I should have a total of 20 in each list. So I'm gonna check them really quickly. And sure enough, I forgot 129. The order in the list does not matter. So I can go ahead and enter that 29 here at the end. It's not going to affect any of my calculations. So with these in my list 1 and list 2, I can calculate data. Just so you know where the list 1 and list 2 buttons are, if I go down here on my camera, or so here, let's see. I'm going to just zoom in on my calculator. And one of the things to notice, the list 1 buttons, these entries right here, if I hit second, and then 1, that'll have that name list 1. That it is not the alpha character L and 1. That will not bring up list 1, just as a note. That's a common mistake that sometimes students get, is that they'll type L1, like the number L, which is on here, and then the numeral 1, and it doesn't work. So just to know that. So to calculate the summary statistics, where I go is if I hit Stat button and then Calc, and I'll do them separately just because I think it's easier to do them separately. If I first and I hit Enter, if I want list 1, my frequency list, frequency on any of the functions almost always should stay 1. There's some rare exceptions, but really we will not be using that. So leave frequency list blank or have the number 1, and then hit Calculate. Oops, it did it twice, but that's okay. And notice that up here come out my summary statistics. This first one, that's my sample mean, X bar. This is a statistic we don't use really. It's the sum of the squared. SX is my sample standard deviation. So X bar, SX are my sample standard deviation. We do not use this sigma. Our sample standard deviation has a correction where we divide by n-1, and we always use SX. And then my n is 20. I can continue down if I use my down arrow button, and I'll start seeing my 5-number summary come up. Q1, median, Q3, and if I scroll down, it has the min and the max. And so then I have all those summary statistics. So this would be for the urban. So if I wanted to make a note of any of these values, right? So my important summary statistics that I would want to know are X bar, which is 32.6. This is my sample mean, right? And I'm writing these notes because, so we know SX is my sample SD, my sample standard deviation, right? Which equals 4.67. N equals 20, that's my sample size. And then I could continue down here, right? And my 5-number summary. So 26, 29, 32, 36, 42. These were the numbers I would make a box plot out of, right? But min, Q1, median, Q3, and then maximum. And those are all there. If I wanted to find IQR, I can now very easily do that. That's Q3 minus Q1, which would be 36 minus 29, which would give me 7. I could find my range, right, which is max minus min. That's 42 minus 26. So I get 16. Okay, so just as a note, and I have all these. If I wanted to do this for the other list, just so you can see how this works, I would hit the Stat button and then go to Calc once again, hit Enter. And after I get here, I now need to enter list 2. So to do that, I need to get list L2. So I do second, the blue button, and I go down right above the number 2 is L2, and it will change this to my entry to L2. I hit Enter or down until I get to Calculate, and then hit Enter. And it will do the same measures for L2. For this, I don't need to write, I'm not going to write them down. I have them here, but you could most certainly write them down. If I wanted to make a graph, there is an option for a stat plot. And I'll include typed up directions for all of these on this particular lesson so you can see. If I was to hit second, right above the y equals, it says stat plot. This will bring me to a stat plot. Right now, notice all of mine are off. That's probably where you want to start. In order for the graphs to graph, you'll need to turn them on. So for the first one, I'll turn it on. I'm going to select a box plot. When I go down to type, it's kind of strange. When I want to select, I actually don't go down to get to box plot. I go to over. So I click over. After the histogram, it will then take me to this box plot. I hit Enter. Oops, It didn't select it. Oops. I want to hit enter right when I'm hovering over the one with the dots. I want to do the one that will show outliers. It's a better graph. Here's that list one. Here's the frequency. I leave it 1. The mark is not important. And then when I've got all my options here, I then go to the graph. Actually, I go to the graph button. Nothing appears. So this will be very, very common. Almost always this will happen until I hit zoom. I'm going to tell my calculator to zoom. I can do zoom and I can go down until I see the selection 9, which is zoom stat. I could also type the number 9, and I'll show you that in the next one when I do that. When I hit enter, now my graph will appear. And if I wanted to hit trace, it will tell me. So it says my min is 26. Hey, look, that matches what I knew from my 5-number summary. If I go over, there's Q1, which is 29. Go over. I'm going to get to my median, which is 32. Go over. Going to get to my Q3, which is 36, and go up. And here I see that my max is at 42, just like I already knew that. And so that's the basic. I can do 2 at one time. I will show that. So if I go second, go back to my stat plot, and I'll go here to down to 2. And then I hit enter. I'm going to turn this one on. I'm going to do similar kind of selections. So I go down and then over until I get to the right box plot choice. To select it, I have to hit enter. Right now it's on L1. I want to do this. This is my plot 2. I'm going to change this to L2. So second, L2. And now I go to graph once again. And my graph is kind of going, once this shows on the screen, my graph is kind of going off the screen. If I hit zoom, and I'm just going to type 9, or I could go down and choose zoom stat, but I can just hit shortcut that. Zoom 9 is what we always want to be doing in this class because it's zoom stat. It will then take me right into the whole thing, and then I have this comparison where I can see these 2 comparative box plots. If I had to choose something on the calculator, I would always choose the box plots because it's really a pain to make histograms. So anyways, this is just a little intro on entering some data into the calculator. Hopefully this was helpful. Please, if you get error messages, if you put a question, if you type a question in, most likely I can help you and troubleshoot any calculator problems you have, because I pretty much know what those typical problems are. But anyways, good luck, and let me know if I can help more. All right, bye everybody.